looking at a large, old, evergreen sumac. This one keeps its leaves year-round. It blooms in the fall and so provides a good source of nectar and pollen for all kinds of small bees and butterflies in the fall. This is a big shrub. It grows slowly, but it does get really big. So you need to plan plenty of space in your landscape if you choose an evergreen sumac. Here are the flowers of that evergreen sumac.
There is a pair, one male and one female tree of Texas persimmon next to the side entrance of the Herd Museum in McKinney, Texas. You need a male and a female to produce fruit. Both have really interesting bark. It's pale and sort of mottled with interesting designs in the bark. There's the fruit again. And across the doorway is the male tree. There's no fruit on the male, only the female tree bears fruit. But look at the great bark on both of these trees. All those interesting designs there in the bark. The fruit is edible, and when ripe, it's a tasty treat for birds, animals, and people. It will become black with age and isn't really ready until it's soft and squishy and quite dark.
A park. Well, this is not a park I go to when I want to film Texas natives. It's the park I go to when I want to film invasives. But yet this is a Texas native. It is probably spread from a landscape specimen, from birds dropping the berries from the seeds. But that's okay. We'll take this one. We're glad to see it here compared to many of the other things the birds have planted. This is a gem. So Carolina cherry laurel. Here we are panning up a little bit to show you the structure. Alternately attached leaves on these branches. And there we go.
The shiny green leaves are lovely, but all parts of the cherry laurel, including leaves, dark blue fruits, stems, and bark, are toxic to pets, livestock, and humans. Birds love the berries, though.
I'm walking up on a Texas mountain laurel. It's not a laurel at all. It is Dermatophyllum secundiflorum, formerly Sephora secundiflora. And it's a beautiful shrub that blooms in the early spring, one of the earliest things to bloom, with big clusters of purple flowers that the early bees just love. But you can see on this one that it sometimes has a problem. It will get its tops eaten in the fall by a particular caterpillar. And those caterpillars will take off the buds that are needed to make new flowers next year. So this one may not bloom in the spring. It has had these caterpillars working on it pretty heavily, but it's still a beautiful shrub, and it does not seem to get these caterpillars every year. It just is, some seasons it will and some seasons it won't. So I think it's still worth having.
Here you can see some of the damage the caterpillars have done. But remember, caterpillars are food for birds, so it's not always a disaster to have caterpillars chewing on some things in your garden.
Here's another Texas mountain laurel that's been pruned into more of a tree form. You can see as I get close that it does have some suckers starting around the base, and that means that whoever pruned this into a tree form is going to have to keep after it to maintain that form. It really is a shrub that wants to be bushy all the way down to the ground in its natural state, but this is a possibility for a way to handle it in your landscape.
The incredible blooms of the Texas mountain laurel smell intensely of grape Kool-Aid or grape candy, and that scent is very attractive to early spring bees and butterflies. It's a member of the pea family with rich nectar for native bees and large butterflies.
This is a Texas kidneywood, not planted in optimal conditions. This one gets an awful lot of shade, and so you can see it is leaning towards the light. All its blooms are on the outside leaning toward the light. If I walk closer to it, you're going to see quite a bit of pollinator activity on these wands of flowers. Sort of a magnet for butterflies and bees of all kinds. It's in the pea family, so it has those leaves like a mimosa. But if I walk around the back, you're going to see leaves and hardly any flowers on this side. Not sure if that's going to show too well with the lighting. But this one is seeking the light. It is leaning over quite a bit. I would recommend that you plant these in full sun instead of the shady conditions that this one gets. That's the only reason I think that it is leaning over. Planted in full sun, this would have been a much nicer specimen, but that just wasn't available when I put this in. All I had left was a shady spot, and I just wanted to give it a try anyway.
I'm constantly amazed by the number of different kinds of butterflies that will visit Texas kidneywood, as well as the number of native bees that use it. But the most incredible thing is the smell. It is sweetly and intensely scented with a beautiful odor. It smells to me very much like baby powder. Planted in the sun, Texas kidneywood has a long bloom season for you to enjoy the visiting butterflies.